Hey, okay, I'm super excited. We're doing fundraising training tonight. And the thing about fundraisers, I think people think far too hard about it than what you really need to. They're fairly simple, fairly straightforward. And so I'm going to kind of teach you a few steps and tricks and just things I've learned. And I know Nina's a pro, so at the end, if there's any questions that she can answer better than me, we're going to open it up, of course, to her as well. First thing to know is when you go to your website, and I'm actually going to share my screen because it's really easy to find, but I want you guys to be able to get to it easily and know exactly where it is. So I got to first get my, there we go. Go back to Salesforce website. Okay. So when you log in, let me share my screen. Where are you? There we go. So here you can see when you go and click on your Salesforce website, you guys get this menu, right? So down here is the fundraising. You click on that and it has printable one-page flyer. So this is the spring flyer. And you can print it in a single sheet. All of the brochure for the spring one is in one sheet. There's the fundraiser brochure for the fall here. So if you have a fundraiser that comes up really quickly, you can actually just print the whole thing on one sheet. So it's all the fundraiser items on one piece of paper, front to back. Okay, so this is the spring one that's getting ready to end on the end of July 27. But then they also have the new fall brochure, and you can see what's available. Printed fall brochure available to order. And then this one has 4 attachments, has sample lists for business leaders so we can show. This one brings you right to the website, and then let's see if this is, oh, yep, this is just telling you how to order it. And I'm sure in the next week or so, they'll have the one-page flyer posted. This is the information for the spring. Okay, so it has both. It also has in here how to work with tax exempt, the fundraiser 2017 program. Up here we have a 2018 program, which is really cool, you guys. This is like legit. When you do a fundraiser, you get paid, but you also can earn free product, okay? So this is through July. Now they may relaunch it. They have not told us yet, but if you have a fundraiser going on right now and you sell $1,000 through that fundraiser, you're gonna get a $125 value product pack for 20 bucks in addition to the profit that you're making. So that's a really cool thing. And right now, like it says, only through July 27th, but they may extend that because they've done this program for a couple times in a row. They just keep that date on there until they're ready to extend those things. But then it gives you an extra incentive. You're like earning free Tupperware on top of your money, on top of your profit, which we're going to talk profit in just a second. But I want to just kind of show you some of the things, the resources that are in here. There's some flyers about, this is the sustainability flyer, which you guys have seen me print a million times, but it has like the products and shows why you would want to buy Tupperware instead of disposables. So that's under helping your community. So it's not just fundraising, but right here, this button is the one that most people don't see and they really need to see. It's fundraiser support materials. Okay, guys, there's 12 attachments. As you can see, there's some in Adobe Acrobat, which means you cannot edit it. But then there's the Word document that you can edit of the exact same thing. So I'm going to be showing you these things that I use from Tupperware that I've kind of edited. I'll be sharing my screen so you guys can see that. The fundraiser basics chart, I think this is information for you. So we're going to start here, you guys. So fundraiser brochure. This is the cool part about a fundraiser. As a consultant, there's the retail price of the item that's featured in the brochure. Okay, now this flyer you're not going to show to customers. This is for your information, okay? So you have that, let's say the example, it's $15 is the retail price. Fundraiser, they get 40% profit goes right to the organization. So the organization is getting $6 of that $15. As a consultant, you're getting the 60% that's remaining, you get $9 sales credit. So it's as if you sold a $9 item. The customer pays $15, 6 of it goes to the organization, 9 of it is the product sales credit and your cost. Or you're not your cost, but your sales credit value. 75% of that is your sales, your consultant cost, just like always. So $675 is what you pay to Tupperware, and you're getting your 25% of that. So in other words, if you have $1,000 in sales at a fundraiser, 400 of it goes to your organization, and it's like you had a $600 home party. You get sales credit for $600, and you get profit on $600. Pretty cool, huh? I see people just kind of barely nodded. Then I want to talk about cash and check orders and Tupper Connect and all that, okay? So cash and check orders are handled through paper, through the, the student who's collecting orders or whoever it is. They're collecting orders. They write it on the order form. They can only take cash and check. There's no credit cards there. There's no shipping and handling for the customers when they pay that, when they go that way. And the shipping, how it works, is it's a consultant cost, kind of. What I do is I let the organization know that this is what the shipping cost is, and if you reach a certain benchmark, I will donate that as part of my, like, I'll pay for that, basically. And so this shows you that if the fundraiser retail is under $400, okay, then the shipping is 7%. If it's over $400, it's a flat rate of $20. So the most you're paying for shipping for a fundraiser, even if it's a $20,000 fundraiser, the most you're paying out of pocket is $20, not $2,000 in shipping as if it was 10%, right? Like our standard shipping rate. So that saves you a lot of money there. And you can choose to donate that. So I always tell my fundraisers, if they reach that $400 mark in retail sales minimum, I will pay that $20 shipping fee. And then it doesn't come out of their commissions that they're earning. So yeah, it comes out of my pocket, but it incents them to sell a little bit more. The commission for cash and check is just like our parties. When we collect the money, we deposit into our bank, we pay Tupperware, we keep our profit, same as always. Taxes. For cash and check order, the customer pays their own tax. I'm going to show you the special tax rate that we have for that. Tupper Connect orders. So when you do a fundraiser, you can also Tupper Connect it, okay? And then when a customer gets that link, it only brings them to the fundraiser brochure. So they aren't going to have an option to shop from the whole catalog and mess up your fundraiser and not have that 40% profit. They're only going to be able to see that. The customer pays for their own shipping, handling, tax, and they do their credit card. So your profit from that, of course, is going to be paid out just like your regular Tupper Connect part of profit is. It gets a check every 2 weeks. You're going to get cut the check. And then the customer, of course, is paying for tax because it's all charged online. And they do pay for shipping when they do it that way, but they do have the benefit of being able to use a credit card or however they want to, the online payment, okay? So this kind of gives you that whole overview. So that's kind of like the quick and easy, that's just like the basics, okay? And then I want to share with you the things that I use personally to help talk about fundraisers, get them started, kicked off, all that kind of stuff. First thing to note is the organization gets 40% profit. There's little to no cost to the organization, so there's not a reason for them to not do it. And there's very little work for them, okay? So 40% profit. First of all, there is very, very few fundraisers out there that offer 40% profit. And if they do, it's usually something that is a disposable or an edible, okay? So like cookie dough usually does 40%, but I mean, how much cookie dough can you use? And in today's world of the healthy eating that are state mandates for the schools, it doesn't really make sense for them to go out and sell cookie dough, to be honest. Tupperware lasts a lifetime, right? Versus something that you're going to throw away like wrapping paper or whatever. But 40% is a huge profit margin. Secondly, any fundraiser that I know my children have been involved in, the teachers, the organization of the group, all the people have all this work they have to do. The product gets shipped. Well, they get this paperwork. They have to pack all the papers. They have to disperse them to all the students. Then they get all the product in and they have to deliver it all and and they have to make sure everyone gets the right thing. And there's like 50 volunteers involved. It's this big, big ordeal. And with Tupperware, the consultant Now, I take it all on myself because this is a plus side. If you do it yourself, you're going to be easier. It's going to be easier to get fundraisers booked, right? So you make your packets up yourself ahead of time. You do the kickoff event. And then when the product comes in, you ship it to you, you bag it out, and on the bag, you put the name of the customer or the name of the student who sold and the name of the customer. And their receipts on the inside, a thank you notes on the inside, everything's bagged out. So then when you go to the school, you're gonna say, I'm gonna deliver it all at this day and time. Students can come pick up while I'm standing there and I can help answer questions, or you can disperse it at a different time, however you wanna do it. But like, this box is all Sally Joe's, this box is so-and-so's, and it's really easy to keep track of all of that. And then I also do incentives for my fundraisers, depending on what it is. So let me share with you, first of all, when you're just talking about it to people, the biggest thing to say is that it's very little work and it's 40% profit. Those are the two most important things. And then you want to have a contract. Once they say yes, you want to do the fundraiser, you want to do a contract. Now, let me look and see what they call it. In our web office, they call it the, I think they call it the goal worksheet. No, goal letter. Let me see. Yes, they call it the goal letter. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like from Tupperware side. And then I will show you how I edit it. Here we go. So here's Tupperware's goal worksheet, okay? Or goal letter, excuse me, goal letter. And this is the PDF version, but you can get a Word doc, and all of these things in brackets you can edit, okay? So organization name, contact name, blah, 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 right? So that's what it looks like when it starts, but then I change it to look like this. See if I can get the right one. Here it is. So this is one from a while ago. And let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, so it says, Dear Modesto High Band, because that's who I did it with, please sign in this, return this to me no later than August 21st so I can continue, moving forward. Here's our contact person and information. I didn't have their address at that time when I did it, when I met with them in person. What I usually do is I have someone who's really interested in it, right? And they may or may not have the deciding factor. Sometimes they have to bring it to a board member. Sometimes you have to go to a meeting. Kind of depends. This one in particular, they had already gone to the board. They had already gone to the band director. They already knew it was approved by everyone. And she was the person who was allowed to sign off on it. So I met with her at Starbucks one day. I got all the rest of the information. So the address of the school. The goal was for them to be able to get 2 or 3 instruments repaired, and then they told me the dollar amount that they needed. The profit, Modesto High Band will receive 40% profit, less any applicable taxes. Kickoff date, so when I was sitting there with her, I wrote in, so I print 2 of these copies, and I fill it in both, okay? So I have one, so the kickoff date, how long it's gonna run, how many packets, so is there 50 students involved? Is there 150 students involved? How many flyers am I purchasing, right? Payment, I always have them make their checks out to the organization. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So it has it right on there. Order pickup date, and I just say, the anticipated delivery is 3 to 4 weeks following submission of order. So then we look at the calendar and I say, okay, so if we close the fundraiser on this date, and we're looking at about 3 to 4 weeks after, and I only say 3 to 4 weeks, you guys, it still takes about the 7 to 10 business days as our normal orders. But if something's missing, or if I'm out of town or whatever, because it's a lot of product to dig through, I want to make sure I tell them 3 to 4 weeks, right? So I look at the calendar and I say, okay, it's about 3 to 4 weeks. When's your next practice or your next meeting or whatever after that I can deliver it all to, and we'll make that our date unless something crazy happens. Profit payout. The profit's kept up front, okay? I'll readdress that in a second. But down here it says, I know you'll be pleased with the results of having Tupperware as your fundraising partner. Should you, for any reason, need to cancel your event, please let me know. If for reschedule your event within 3 months of the initial cancellation, there will not be a restocking fee assessed. Fundraisers canceled after the materials have been contributed will be assessed $100 materials processing and any other associated product or material costs. And then I sign it and I read that to them and make sure they understand, and then they sign it. And the reason why is because I had a fundraiser once who a mom was in charge and she did a fundraiser and she got it all set up. And then as soon as I ordered everything, got everything ready to go, she told me, oh, never mind, my principal won't let us do it. And I was out a lot of money because I had purchased all of the brochures already and everything was there and I couldn't do anything. We couldn't reschedule and she was just, nope, I'm not doing it. And so I have it in writing now that that's in the contract that they have to pay for that if they cancel. So let's talk about payment a minute. So if you're doing a local event or a fundraiser for a local place like a school or whatever, they have their own treasurer, okay? And so I always have the checks payable to the organization so that when those checks are all written to Mohai Band, for example, if any of those checks bounce, I'm not responsible to figure it out, right? The school has to deal with that. And it also allows for their profit to be kept up front immediately. So for example, when I met with them to close out their stuff, it was me and 2 parents. All of the envelopes, which I'll explain in another letter to the students, is all the envelopes, the fundraising envelopes, have to be returned to me sealed. I do not accept any envelopes that are unsealed. So if their packet's returned unsealed, it's not accepted by me until someone else verifies what's in it with 3 people sitting there. Because if money's missing, they, obviously it would look like I stole it, right? So it has to be sealed. So in order for them to turn it in, it has to be sealed. Then they come to me with sealed envelopes, and we as 3 people or 4 open every single envelope together and tally everything. It takes a while, you guys. So get someplace comfortable and do it. And we did that. And then because all the checks were written to Mohai Band, I hand them theirs. And let's say this was bigger than that, but let's say it was $1,000 in sales. So they collected $1,000 plus the tax, okay? So then I say, okay, so $1,000 is your retail. You get to keep $400 of that, right? Because that's their 40%. I get everything else because I need the 60% to pay Tupperware plus the shipping and handling. So then we look at, did they collect the correct amount of money? Because some kids don't total things right and whatever. I don't eat that cost, they do. So if they have a student who collected $10 wrong, then that $10 comes off their profit, not out of my pocket, okay? So I make sure, and we're double checking that as we're taking the money out. Did they collect the right amount for each order? As long as that's all legit, they get to keep their $400. So we have a total, every dollar that was collected, it was $1,300 or whatever with tax and, right, the total amount. Minus $400 is what they get to keep. They write me a check for the difference. So I'm receiving 1 check from the school. They have 40 checks or 50 checks or whatever that they get to go deposit today, and their money goes in the bank today. Their profit stays in the bank today, and they pay me a check for the difference, right? And then I go down to my bank, and I know that the school's check is not going to bounce, right? I don't have to worry about it. I go to my bank, I deposit in my bank account, I order the product instantaneously. They can have it ordered the same day they hand me that check. Some organizations like American Cancer Society, they don't necessarily have a treasurer right here. I've done one with the American Cancer Society, and I had to have them write it out to the special club that was doing the fundraiser. And then we could do it that way. But American Cancer Society is a national, global thing, and they don't have someone who can just cut me a check for this little group who's doing it for Relay for Life, right? So you have to find out from the person how that will work if they have a local treasurer. Most of the fundraisers you'll be dealing with do have a local treasurer and can figure it out. It's not really that big of a deal. But that saves you the hassle of having to worry about all these checks from people you've never met, never seen in person, total strangers, right? You don't have to worry about it at all. And then the profit for the organization from the Tupper Connect orders, as soon as you hit submit on the fundraiser from your end, Tupperware is shipping the product, but they're also shipping the check to you. If that's because if you're shipping the product to you, then you're getting their profit check to you, okay, for their online orders. So you'll get that check. So the day that you deliver their product, they're also going to be delivered a paper check for their online orders because those orders have already been delivered to the customer, okay? So that makes it really simple too that you get to present them with an extra check. So I'm going to really quick, does anybody have any questions so far? I want you guys to be able to ask as we go because there's kind of a lot to cover. And I hope you're taking notes because there's a lot to cover. Unmute yourself if you have questions. Okay.
I have a question, Alyssa. What if you're doing an online event, such as a fundraiser for like an animal shelter and they're in another state? How would you, like you wouldn't be able to get the stuff ready for, say, for the customer because it would be all shipped to you wouldn't be able to do all the work. You see what I'm saying? I want to make it as easy as possible for the customer to get enough attention out there, but when it's online and they're in another state, it makes it a little difficult. I've done a couple fundraisers like that. One for an animal shelter that did very well, but one for a young man that was 21 and went missing, and we were doing it for his kids to raise money, and it didn't do very well. And I wanted to be able to help them more than I could.
Well, if it's online, then the order is being shipped directly to the customer and the profit just gets tallied up and you just hit submit. And if you don't have orders to turn in, you just call Tupperware and say, all the orders were online, can you close it? And they will.
Okay.
So the person who you're raising funds for, like the animal shelter or the young man, whatever, they don't have to deal with anything if it's all online at all. There's nothing to deal with if it's strictly online.
They just invite people?
Yeah.
And make sure they get their link out there.
Share the link. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't share the link enough, that's not something that I can control.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So good question. So that's the first step, is getting them to sign off. Then once they're signed off and I know how many packets I need to make, I order envelopes and brochures, enough for the whole thing and a few extra, just so that if they say, oh, there's somebody who, you know, my sister wants a packet too, can I have an extra packet? I always make a few extra, like about 5 extra, more than what they say, with all the materials. Because you're not just going to hand them an envelope with the brochure in it, okay? Because that's not enough. Oh, before we do that, I want to share this screen really quickly. Here it is. So this is there we go. Can you guys see the exclusive fundraiser worksheet? Okay. So this one is the goal sheet to kind of explain how much money they would make, okay? So over on this side, it explains if they have $10 orders, and over here is if it's a $20 order. And basically, you're gonna say, okay, if you have 50 people participating and they each collect 5 orders, that's gonna be 250 orders. 250 times $10 is $2,500 that you're selling, times 40% is X amount in profit. Okay, so it's just kind of explaining how they can make money, and if they took that $10 and went to $20, what that difference would be. I like to show them the difference between someone collecting 5 orders and 10 orders. The difference in price on both. So I would do, like, here I would have a 5 order and calculate it, and a 10 order, and same thing here. So they can see how quickly it can double if they have people out there doing it. And that I go over with them when I'm doing the goal letter. Then for the actual event, okay, so you're gonna have in your folder or in your envelope for the customer, you're gonna have the brochure. You're gonna, inside the brochure, there are order forms, but there's only 4, and there's only like 2 items per order blank or something like that. It is not enough, okay? So don't rely on that. You're gonna have an order form, which I'll show you in a second, and I print 2 of them front to back. So they actually have like 24 order blanks available to them, okay? I also have in there their participant letter, which I will share with you and how I've kind of adjusted it to make sense. I copied one of the ones from my kids' school for a different fundraiser that just totally bullet points everything versus being like a letter that's really wordy, because Tupperware's is really wordy and it's a letter and it doesn't really speak to parents. You need to have bullet points so they can just scan, okay? And then I have a tax rate sheet because yes, you can get the tax rate sheet that has every 2 cents or whatever, and they can figure out what their tax is based on their total. But let me tell you, no one knows how to use that really, especially children, and they always use it wrong. And 90% of the world doesn't know how to use a calculator and figure out tax. So I have created an easy tax sheet for the fundraiser brochure with every fundraiser brochure that we have out. So in that, and then every single pack is numbered, okay? So if I have 50 packets, they're numbered. And then I have a sign-up sheet, and I don't have this pulled up, but it's just an Excel file numbered 1 through 50, and I print it, and it has their organization at the top, and then it says name, class, depending on what it is. So like it might say if they're on a specific team, if it's a team or class or whatever, phone number and email. They have to give me their phone number and email as they're checking out their packet. And the reason being is even if they don't collect any orders, that packet has to be returned. And then I have each student's email and phone number to make sure they're getting reminders throughout of when things are ending. Okay, so I put together these packets, and then I go to an event to kick it off. We'll talk about the event in a second, but let me show you what goes in the packet. So the first thing that you're going to have in the packet, of course, is the brochure. The second thing you're going to have is the order form. It looks like this, okay? And I just print front to back, and they get 2 in every single packet, okay? So there's more, I mean, there's 4 lines here instead of only 2 items, okay? So easy peasy, that is a Tupperware form. It's on their site. Then in the packet, they also receive this form. Where'd it go? Here it is. Our Excel sheet that has the tax rate, okay? So let me show you. Now I print this all on one page. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see it better. So it's all on one page, so it looks kind of like, sorry, let me adjust my screen. Looks kind of like that when I print it. And it has the page, the letter, the item number, the description of the product. This is the price. Here's our tax rate here in Modesto, California, 7.875. Total cost for the customer, and here's the donated amount. So when little Sally Joe is sitting with grandma and she orders a breakfast maker, he knows, or Sally Joe knows, that it's $228 tax. The cost is $31.28. It's not, wait, how much is the tax? How do I figure that out? It tells them exactly. And guess what? Grandma knows that $11.60 is going to Sally Joe's fundraiser, which I think is genius because they don't usually have that printed for you, right? So that's the fundraiser sheet. I change this with every brochure, so it's updated. The only thing you would need to edit is this formula, because if you aren't in Modesto, California, you would have to change that. And I'll post this in a PDF file, so if you are a Modesto resident, you can just use this one and you don't have to think about it. But you don't have to think about how to print from Excel. But if you aren't, then you'll need to edit it and let me know, okay? So that's the second thing that's in the brochure, in the packet. The third thing that I put in the packet, or fourth thing, I guess, if you're including the brochure, is the letter. Kind of like, this is the participant letter, okay? So it says, it has the name of the organization, it's Tupperware time, and it says that it's their 2014 fundraiser. Sales start today and run through the end date. Products will arrive mid-October. We're excited to announce that we're offering 40% profit. And we did 2 fundraising catalogs because at that time they were overlapping just like this right now. And it's a lifetime warranty. So it's getting the family members and the people excited about this, right? Funds raised go directly to the high band and the orchestra to repair instruments. When enough funds are raised, new instruments can be purchased too. How to help. Show the catalogs to friends, relatives, and coworkers. Please no unsupervised door-to-door selling. You want to make sure the kids are safe, right? Collect the money when you take the order. Important details. Checks should be made payable to high band boosters. Please include the seller's name in the memo section. Please return the order forms, money, checks, catalogs, and prize selection form in the collection envelope provided by Wednesday, September 9 p.m. Okay? So it tells them when they have to return it. Make sure all the forms and envelopes are filled out completely before turning in. Please include the seller's name on the top of the order form. Make sure your envelope is sealed before turning in. Okay, so really important details. Another bullet point that I would add at this point is I would say any orders placed online, your friends and family, make sure that you note that so we can get you credit. Okay, so like if I'm Sally Joe and I sold to my aunt in Wisconsin and she placed an order online, I would want to fill out a blank order form and write Aunt so-and-so placed an online order at this date. So I can make sure that that student gets credit for that order, okay? So that would be a bullet point I would add. Great rewards. Individual prize of Tupperware Eco Bottle. So now I personally, depending on the organization, I will do a some sort of event fundraiser gift, okay? So the individual prize of the Tupperware Eco Bottle, a color of your choice, when you collect $200 or more or $20 in individual orders. That's the limit I set it at. You can make it higher, you can make it lower. But for me, at that time, I was able to get Eco water bottles, I think, for $3. So for the cost of $3, if they collected $200 in orders or 20 individual orders, it was worth my $3, okay? So see attached flyer and order form for your prize selection. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And don't forget to include this in your envelope. The top 2 sellers will be awarded a $20 Starbucks gift card. Now that prize was being awarded by one of the parents. The parent, we really, really wanted them to do a good job. And so she donated her own $40 to be able to incent the top 2 personal sellers. Guess what? It was her daughter and her best friend who sold the most, but it didn't matter. She chose to spend that money. And you will find some organizations will do a pizza party or whatever. They choose to do their own incentive, but I put it on this letter so that it's included in the information, right? And we have set a $10,000 goal. If we meet this goal, there will be an amazing surprise. We didn't know what we were going to do yet, but if we had reached $10,000 in sales, we were going to do a big pizza party. We didn't know. We hadn't figured it out yet. I want to say, let me tell you, we did, we did $3,000 in sales in 3 weeks. And if you guys know Modesto High, it is not a very high, the neighborhood where it comes from is not a high income area. So $3,000 for these kids was huge. Okay, guys, they made $1,200, and were able to get 2 instruments repaired, which was a huge deal. So that's amazing, right? Like being able to do that. So that's a letter. Then I include in it an order form. Now, you guys, again, this has to be individual. And when you set up a fundraiser, if you are wanting help figuring out what your costs would be, what your goals should be in order to give away a gift, and how much of your own personal profit you want to spend on gifting is, let me know. But I personally don't believe in doing those stupid tchotchke gifts that you can get through like Oriental Trading Company or whatever. That's ridiculous. It's crap. The parents want to bonk you in the head when they come home with this stuff that breaks in a day. And so I do Eco water bottles as my prize because honestly, it's better, right? So let me share with you the flyer I created. Oh, somebody just unmuted. Let me see if I can find who it was. Oops.
It was me, sorry.
Are you muted now? Okay, good. Thanks, April. Okay, so let me share the thing. Okay. So here's my thing. So here it says, in the little exclamation point, it just says collect $20 or 20 orders or $200 in retail orders and choose your prize. This is the final date they have. Here are the 5 colors. And some of these colors were featured in our regular full-line catalog, and some of these were part of the fundraiser brochure at the time. Okay, so they were just what was available. I put them in there. And then here is Mohai Band Fundraiser. I did it. And it says their name, their grade, and please order blank. So in here it says the gold. So they would have to write gold, or pink delight, or pink punch, or winter green, okay? And then that paper had to be included in with their orders for me to order. And I verified if they did the 200 or not, and all of that. So that was just something extra I did out of pocket. It didn't cost me very much money, but it got a ton. I would say 50% of the kids at least did the $200 in orders so they could get their water bottle. And luckily, there was gold, which is one of Mohai's school colors, so they were like out of their mind excited about it. And then, so that all goes in the packet. Then, when I go to the kickoff, now for this particular one, I just went to one of the band practices, brought in a basket of a few of the products that are featured in the fundraiser line. I brought citrus peelers for all of them. I had the sign-up sheet and the packets, and I just kind of explained what Tupperware was. I just stood up in the front and said, okay, how many of you heard Tupperware? Do you know what Tupperware is? They didn't really know. I demonstrated. I think I demonstrated the soup mug so they would get excited about being able to do like an Egg McMuffin in the microwave. Teenagers can get excited about that. I demonstrated the water bottle, and I just demonstrated Fridge Smart, I think, were the 3 things that I kind of focused on. Because those are 3 things that lots of people, their family members, friends, I want them to have some knowledge. Because if they just are like, oh, here's some Tupperware, the grandma's going to say, I have all the Tupperware I need, or whatever, right? You want to really get them excited. I also talked to them about the, what is it called? The lifetime warranty, that if it ever breaks, we're going to replace it for free. How many of you have crappy plastic bowls that your mom can't find lids to, or that are warped and squished in the corner, or whatever, right? Like, they all were laughing. They knew exactly what I was talking about. And so that got them bought into the idea, okay? And then I talked to them about the whole goal, how much each student. So if we had, this is where that $10,000 sales came in, you guys. If every single student had done 400, I think, or 300, I think it was 300 or 400. If every student had done that, we would have hit 10,000. So I told them that. I said, if every student sells this many items at the average item, you're going to have $10,000, or you're going to sell 10,000, which will get put $4,000, which is this many instruments. And that got them excited and motivated. So you have to kind of break it down for the students so they understand what it means to them, because otherwise they don't care. I've done a fundraiser for, what are they called? Soccer team and a cheer team thing. And they have expenses for their uniform, for their sign-up fees, all that stuff. And so I find out what that cost is and when it's due. And I say, okay, so if you want to make your full uniform or your full travel amount, you're going to need to sell this much. So they know, hey, if I want to have it all paid for in this one fundraiser and I don't ever have to stand out at the firework booth or whatever to get my points, I have to sell 20 items or whatever, because like nobody wants to stand out at the firework booth. They'd much rather sell to their family and friends, right? So so that gets them really excited, and then I make sure I reiterate, you know, where you're going to go and whatever. So then, and then I give them a little piece of paper. I give everybody a paper right then at the beginning, and I have them grab a pen, and I say, okay, I want you to write down top 10 people you're going to talk to right now. The first 10 people you can think of. Grandma, mom, blah, like, and I list a name of people, and I say, shout out to somebody else, right? Your neighbors. So they start thinking, who are they going to talk to, and at least have 10 people to talk to before I walk out that door. Because otherwise, that packet gets thrown in their backpack, and they walk away, and they never look at it again until mom finds it 2 weeks later with rotten food on it or something, right? So you have to get their brain engaged. And then I say, okay, what are you guys going to do with your packet when you get home? What's the first thing you're going to do? Show my mom, right? So like I make, like they have to kind of like interact with me. And it's like a 15-minute meeting, you guys. It's super fast. And then I stand there while they check out their packets and we go. And then when it all comes in, it ships to me. I bag it all out, all that like I explained. One of the things that I include is a thank you note. So I just created a little thing, and it just says your support helped raise over $1,200 for instruments and instrument repair. We couldn't have done it without you. And then I have my Tupperware contact information on there, and I just cut these up and put it in with their order. So they're getting a little something from me, a little, just a thank you note reminding them what they did for us. You can include the current sale brochure if you want. You could include any home party that's dated off of this. We'll get a 10% profit for the organization if you want to get datings that way. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with that if you want. I just do it as a thank you, and then I have all the information, so I can always call and make follow-up calls and see how they're liking their product. So it's super a way to get you a lot of new contacts too. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, you guys, it's that, I know there's a lot of information I give you, but it's really that simple. So I'm going to let you guys open up the floor, let you guys ask me anything you want about fundraising. And yeah, take it away.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's say my son's elementary school wants to do it. Then I do it for every child in the entire school?
Well, yes and no. I've had one consultant do it for an entire elementary school, and it was very, very difficult because that's like, I mean, depends on how big your elementary school is. Mm-hmm. Some elementary schools have 20,000 kids, okay? Right. 20,000 packets is going to cost you several $1,000s.
Right.
So what she did for the school she did is it was a lot of back work because we want to stay true to our no upfront cost. So it depends on how much it is. So depending on how many kids it is, if it's a huge school, I would say, okay, that's fine, but this is the cost of the materials up front for the brochures. And when you reach this goal, I will give that back to you in your profit, right? But it was like $100,000 in sales or something crazy, right? Because you have to be able to make your money back and still make money on the event, right? So we kind of worked it out backwards so that if they sold X amount, their fundraiser packets would be reimbursed at the end. If they did this much, they would get $100 back, and so on until we got down to they're just paying for it out of pocket because there's so many kids and it's hard to track it. A better solution would be to run it for a class, okay? So maybe it's 6th grade camp, maybe it's kindergarten easels. I mean, just try to make it a little bit smaller scale if the school isn't willing to pay for the expenses up front. Because some schools aren't, because a lot of the big box fundraisers pay for that stuff up front because it's a corporation, not a consultant who's running it, right? So you have to look at those, the school looks at all that stuff. Even if they're only making 15% profit, they don't care because it doesn't cost them any money up front. Whereas us, we're giving 40%, and yeah, it's going to cost them money up front, but if they sell X amount, they're going to get it for free. So, but they don't want to take that risk sometimes either. So then your alternative solution could be, can I do one grade level? Or one grade level at a time even, Good question. Any other questions? You guys are so quiet tonight. Any other questions? Nina, is there anything you want to add to the training? Did I miss anything I'm not thinking of? Nope, it sounds like I've got it all. Wow, that doesn't happen very often, huh? Especially for something that she's a pro at. Yeah, you guys, here's the other thing. I want to just share a little testimony. She's not on tonight because she's gotten a lot of her training already, but one of our newer consultants just started a fundraiser on June 30th, I think, for like the Humane Society or something here near local. And she did it online so they could take advantage of emailing people. And then she also did it in person and sent out catalogs with the people. But let me just tell you where she's at so far in just the 1 week so far in sales. online so far, she already has $190 in sales credit, which you guys remember that's not total cost for the fundraiser, right? 190. Sorry, I have to do math. That's $316 that her fundraiser already sold. She's getting sales credit for the two whatever and profit on that. But do you guys see how powerful it is? In just 1 week, $316 sold for that organization. That's huge. And that means they're already making in just 1 week $126 profit.
That goal on that one's over 2,000. They're hoping to make 2,000. A $2,000 sales goal.
See,
on that one.
Exactly. So if they have a goal and they're really motivated, they do it. Now, another side note that I forgot to mention about the online, when you go in to do the Tupper Connect, there's going to be like 5 different ways you can do it. You can do it as individual seller. You can do it as setting up teams. You can do it as blah, blah. There's like all these things. And the real purpose of that was so that, let's say you're doing a class or grade level and each classroom is competing against each other. So you have, you know, miss class and whatever, right? That way you can keep track of it. Honestly, it's way more confusing to do it that way. I never do it that way. I just have the student write on the order form, Jody Eskis, my cousin, placed an order online, whatever. So I can credit them. I mean, it's all one profit check anyway, but I can keep track of it over in my records of how much they sold, so that I can credit it properly to each classroom versus having them have to do a whole bunch of work. Because when you do the Tupper Connect, you're going to get a link that's easy to share on Facebook and a link that's easy to share in email. So you're going to send out both those links to the person in charge, all the teachers, all the students who took a packet, because you got their email, remember, and you got their phone number, and they're going to get that, and you're going to say, welcome to the Tupperware fundraiser. Here are your links that you can share with all your family and friends. It goes out to everybody then. It's easy. People can copy and paste. They don't have to enter anyone's email address into the Tupperware system. They don't have to take time to log in and create a login, blah, 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 blah. Boo, no one wants to do that. Just send them the link via email or text message, or create an event on Facebook and make sure they're all invited. Make sure that the person in charge invites everybody who's part of it, whatever, and make sure that that link is there. So that makes it really simple. And then they just need to notate on their paper order forms that they're turning into you who of their friends placed orders online, so you can make sure they get credit for their uniform or whatever it is they're raising funds for. And then another side note that is, if they reach a certain sales goal, I usually, depending on what the school wants to do. So like if they personally reach a sales goal, I always do like the water bottle or something. But if they do the full sales goal, I might do a donut party or a pizza party or an ice cream party. And you can get those 3 things for really cheap for kids. And oftentimes the school will pay for most of it or half of it or whatever. I kind of work it out with them of, okay, what would you want to do if you made this sales goal? What gifts would you give? I ask them before I tell them I'm going to give anything. So then they tell me their cards before I give them my cards. And then once I know what they're willing to pay in, maybe it's a pizza party when they reach whatever, then I'm like, okay, great. Let's do that. I could bring, I'll do individual gifts for the kids when they reach X goal to help motivate them to get there. And you do the pizza party, I'll put it on there. So that way it's not like it's all my responsibility as a consultant, right? It's the school's responsibility to motivate them a little bit too. So that's another little side thing that I do. And again, you can run these all the time, but this is the time of year where right now in July, traditional school year is getting ready to get amped up. So if you have teachers that you're friends with or board members or anything like that, now's the time to contact them, because if they haven't already figured out their fall fundraisers, they're going to be figuring them out at the beginning of August, end of July, and they're going to be set in stone. And then you won't be able to be a part of their fundraising until probably spring. So now's the time to really get your foot in the door and get them excited about it. And then if you missed the mark because they already have their fall fundraiser figured out, then you just do a spring one with them. You don't want to overlap if you don't have to, because parents can only spend so much money at each time. I know my kids' school does 2 back-to-back that are just mindless to me. It drives me crazy. And so I know the fall is always taken up with them. So in the spring is when I hit up the teachers. Well, I hit them up now, but I talked to them about doing a spring for the classroom specifically, or the grade level specifically that I know is needing extra funds, versus doing it in the fall, because I know the parents are just inundated with the 2 fall fundraisers that we can't stand. So, and they aren't changing their mind. So I just smile along and I do my fundraiser later in the year. So is there any other questions, comments, thoughts?
I have a question. What if you do a fundraiser for like the Boys and Girls Club, and say you have to volunteer there, right? I know we have some information on that. I've already talked to the Boys and Girls Club and Tracy. I have a meeting with them probably next week, but I want to try to find I printed out the information that's on our Tupperware page regarding the Boys and Girls Club. I'm going to get my nephew involved, and then I'm going to get my niece involved in volunteering there with me. You must volunteer to earn the club, the product. So is that correct?
Yeah, so that's not really a fundraiser per se, because you're not running a fundraiser with our fundraiser catalog. That's a totally separate product. Tupperware corporately sponsors the Boys and Girls Club. And so if there's a Boys and Girls Club in your area that you volunteer at and you put volunteer hours in, you can submit that Boys and Girls Club to Tupperware as, hey, I come here and I volunteer and I teach a class or I whatever as a Tupperware consultant. And then Tupperware will award that Boys and Girls Club with a product set that goes to their kitchen.
But there's no way for us to do a fundraiser for them to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club, or is there a way for us to incorporate that also?
You can, but it's 2 separate events. I mean, it's 2 separate
Okay.
things. Yeah,
Okay.
so you do a fundraiser for them, just like we talked about, but the other side of it is totally Tupperware. And then the third thing is the change for the better on the order form to round up everyone's order. All that change goes to your local Boys and Girls Club. So
Okay.
at the bottom of the order form where it says round up for change for the better, and when you click on that in the system, that money is collected from Tupperware, and then Tupperware donates it back to the local Boys and Girls Club that you are part of. Live closest to.
Okay.
Later places. So that's a way you can do a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club all the time, year round. But then if you have a Boys and Girls Club that wants to raise funds and they have kids who would collect orders, because oftentimes Boys and Girls Club members are the kids that are they're at the most at risk and or the lowest income in the neighborhood. So they may not be collecting orders, but the people running the show could collect orders, right, to raise money. So, and I'm not saying that all kids who go to Boys and Girls Club are low income. I don't mean that by any means, but that's oftentimes what you find, right? So they may not be out there selling, but they would definitely benefit from it. And then if you are volunteering, they do get the product sets. So some of the ideas I've just heard recently is going out and volunteering at Boys and Girls Club and doing just little cooking classes. And then when the Tupperware is donated, now they have product in their kitchen that's used for it, so you can have a lot of fun at those at Boys and Girls Club, just going in and doing one class a week on whatever day after school kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, that was a great question. Any other questions? You guys are so quiet. I guess that's it. I guess I answered every question, and I won't have any questions from you guys ever about a fundraiser again, right? Just teasing. Well, on that note, I'm going to end